Project Task 5, Drafting Your Scoring Key. So today you're going to start creating the scoring key so that you can interpret the results of your survey. So this is part of the reason why we wanted the same number of multiple choice options for every question, so that we can create a histogram with the same number of bins as we have answer choices. So first part of this is just kind of looking at what you've asked and what your numbers are going to be. How many data gathering questions will you ask? So minimum is 8. How many multiple choice options will you give as responses to each of your survey? Minimum is 5. State the minimum number of points and the maximum number of points that you can earn on your survey. So again, the minimum number of points, if there's 1 point minimum and 8 questions, that would be 8. If there's 5 points maximum and 8 questions, that would be 5 times 8 is 40. Then you need to find the range. Remember, that's just the biggest number minus smallest number. And then you can divide your range by the number of multiple choice options in your survey. That is your result range. We're going to round to 3 decimal places as necessary. And then, starting with your minimum value, add your result range to find your minimum grouping, and then add the result range to that, to the largest number, to find your maximum point, to find your next grouping until you get to your maximum value of points. This will create your result bands. So you want your number ranges and your real-world interpretations. You also want to explain what the lowest and highest possible ranges of scores mean, and what do the ones in between typically mean. Then we need to go back to our list of questions and our list of answer choices and use our explanations of the highest and lowest possible scores to assign point values to your answer choices. You might have done that already. And then once you're ready, you're going to explain how we are going to analyze the data by converting categorical responses into quantitative results, which we'll use to create histograms. And based on the shape of each histogram, you're going to choose your best measure of center and best measure of spread. It's either going to be the mean and standard deviation if you have a symmetrical graph, or the median and the IQR if the graph is skewed. Again, this is stuff from the first semester. This is how we look at and analyze our data, so that's why we're bringing it back here. And all of this goes into the methods section. In this project, we will convert categorical responses into numerical values for our analysis. We will create histograms from every respondent's total score, and we will use the shape of the histogram to determine the best measures of center and spread. So if we look at my example project here, we've already done all of the introduction. We are still working on the methods section. Again, the demographic questions are part of the methods, and so is the scoring key, because this is how we are doing the project. That's what the methods is about. So just copying that first set of text here in this project, we will convert categorical responses into numerical values for analysis. We will create histograms from every respondent's total score, and we will use the shape of the histogram to determine the best measures of center and spread. The scoring key for each respondent is, so now this is where I'm going to do my numerical stuff here. It might maybe be useful if you insert a table, and I'm going to go 2 by 6 so that I can have a header line of score range and interpretation. So I'm going to do a little bit of notes, delete later. So our minimum score was 8 because I had 8 data gathering questions. My maximum score was 40 because I had 5 options on 8 questions, 5 times 8. Again, that is from my number of answer choices was 5. Number of data gathering questions only. Don't include your demographic questions. So, possible score range. Remember, range is all the distance between your maximum and minimum output values. So if I have 40 as my maximum and 8 as my minimum, then there are 32 numbers for me to play with in between. And the range for each score, 32 divided by 5, is 6.4 for me. I didn't have to round to 3 decimal places. So my score ranges, you definitely start with your minimum, and then you add your score range, your 6.4, to the minimum to find your upper end of the bottom range. So 8 plus 6.4 is 14.4 for me. That's my lowest score range, and that means that the respondent has strong negative feelings about homework. Okay, so the adding 6.4, we always add to the upper end of the range. So if something is so if you get a score of 14.4, which you're probably not going to get, but that's okay, since I'm using whole number values, then the next range would just start 0.1 above that, 14.5. But then the top of that range is from taking the 14.4 plus 6.4, which gets me 20.8. And we'll just keep going up from there. 20.9 is slightly above 20.8. And now we'll take the 20.8 plus 6.4, should get me 27.2 as the top of my middle range. Next number up would be 27.3. And then again, 27.2 plus 6.4 should come out to be 33.6. And if I go 33.7, part of the way that you know that you did this correctly is that when I take my 33.6 and add my score range for that, my 6.4, I should get 40, which is my maximum possible score. And my interpretations, continuing on from there, instead of just strong negative feelings, we will have just negative feelings about homework. In the middle would be neutral feelings about homework. After that, we start getting into positive feelings about homework. And then finally, strong positive feelings about homework. So these are the possible ranges that we get. So if you got a score, and I know that my Google form isn't quite set up to show you what your total score points are. I'm still learning how to do something like that. I'm still looking that up. But let's say you got a 30. If you got a 30, that's somewhere between 27 and 33, and that means you generally have positive feelings about homework. Maybe not every single night, but generally you feel like, yeah, it's worth my time and it helps me learn. But that is task 5. You are now ready to go to it.